Hi guys. So today we're doing 3-4 equations of lines. Okay. So let's get started. Okay. So here with example 1, all of this should be pretty much review. It says to write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line with slope of -4 and y-intercept of -1. So slope-intercept form you should know is y equals mx plus b. The reason why it's called slope-intercept form is because it gives us the slope and it gives us the y-intercept. The slope is m, y-intercept is b. So here, I already know the slope is -4 and the y-intercept is 1. So y equals -4x plus 1. Okay, so it's nice and easy. All right, slope. All right. Intercept of 1. There you go. So my equation is y equals -4x plus 1. Okay, why don't you check your progress 1 and then come check your answer. Okay, you should have gotten y equals 3x minus 8. 3 is in the m position and then -8 is in the b position. Plus and negative is just minus. Okay, so the next one here is write an equation in point slope form of the line with slope of -1/2 and it contains 3 -7. Okay, so point slope form might be new to you. This is point slope form. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. The reason why it's called point slope form is because it gives us a point. This is the point on the line. It would be plugged in the x sub 1 and the y sub 1 spot. And then it also gives us the slope. And so that's why it's called point slope form. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Here is our slope. We're going to plug it in for m. And then here, our point is going to be our x1, y1. So it's going to be y minus -7 equals -1/2 x minus 3. So here, you'll see that I plugged my slope of -1/2 into the m position. And then my point, 3 -7 is here. 3 -7. This one, 1. Okay. And then I'm just going to simplify that minus and negative. That just means plus. So y plus 7 equals -1/2 x minus 3. Okay. So why don't you try CYP2 and then come check your answer. Okay, you should have gotten y plus 6 equals 4 times the quantity of x plus 3. Okay, plugged in the slope of 4 into the m position, -3 into x1, and -6 into y1, and then the minus and negative turned it into a plus. Okay. So here's the next one. We want to write an equation in slope-intercept form for line L. Okay, so there are several ways that we're going to do it, and I'm going to show you the different ways. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is we're going to have to find the slope. Okay, so then I'm going to just name one x1, y1, the other one x2, y2. Okay, so let's just do x1, y1, x2, y2. So it's going to be 2 minus 6 over 3 minus -1. 2 minus 6 is -4. 3 minus -1, that's plus. So 3 plus 1 is 4. And -4 divided by 4 is -1. So that is my slope. Okay? Then what you can do is you can plug it in to slope-intercept form to find b, or you can use point slope form and then change it the other way. Okay, so I'm going to show you several different ways. So the first thing, you can try using slope-intercept form. You can use one of your points like -1, 6. I'm going to plug it into x and y. So 6 for y equals, my slope is -1. And then the x for that is also -1. And then plus b. And solve for b. So -1 times -1 is +1. Subtract 1 on both sides, I get 5 equals b. So here, y equals -1x, or -x plus 5. Okay? You might be like, Miss Ng, what if I chose this point? Okay, you should get the same thing because this equation should be true for all of the points on the line. So even if instead of -1, 6, I chose 3, 2, I should still get the same thing. So 2 for the y equals -1 from the slope, and then 3 for the x plus b. You'll see here -1 times 3 is -3. Add 3 on both sides to get rid of the -3, and that will be 5 equals b. Still, you would get y equals -x plus 5. Okay? Or, okay, so this is one way you can do it. Or, it's still one slope-intercept form. So eventually, I still want the answer to be in slope-intercept form. Okay? Not a problem. Okay? You can also use point-slope form and still get this. Okay? So the difference is I'm going to plug it into x1, y1 here. So y minus y1, 6, equals my slope, which is -1, x minus x1, -1. Okay? So this is y minus 6 equals -1, x plus 1, right? Because minus negative is plus. I'm going to distribute this. So y minus 6 equals -x minus 1. Add the 6 to both sides. And then -1 plus 6 is 5. And you'll see I get the same thing. And even if you're like, Miss Ng, what if I chose this point? You will get the same thing. And just to show you, it's going to be y minus this y. 2 equals, slope was -1, x minus, this point is 3. Okay? Then I'm going to distribute y minus 2 equals -1 times x is -x. -1 times -3 is +3. Add 2 to both sides. I get y equals -x plus 5. And as you can see, whichever way I do it, it works as long as I'm following the math rules and the formula rules. Okay? So there you go. You don't have to do it in every single way that I did. Just whichever way you choose, that's fine. And here you're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that contains -2, 4, and 8, 10. Okay, you should have gotten one of these two answers. Y equals 3/5 x plus 5 1/5, or if you left it as an improper fraction, it would be 26/5. I personally like the 5 1/5 better because it actually helps me more with graphing rather than thinking of it as 26/5. Okay, got it right? You can move on to our next example. If not, here's your explanation. First thing I did was find the slope, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 simplifies to 3/5. Okay, and then earlier I showed you there's so many different ways that you could do it. Okay, I chose to use -2, 4 as my x and y, and I chose to use the slope-intercept form. So here's my slope that I just found. Here's x and the y, -2, 4. Okay. 3/5 times -2 is -6/5. I changed it into -1 and 1/5. Sometimes it's better to leave it as an improper fraction to do the math, makes it easier. Sometimes it's easier to change it. So it was easier this time to change it, so I did to -1 and 1/5. And then when I add it, 4 plus 1 is 5, and then the 1/5, so 5 1/5. And then I plug that in for B. Okay? So there's CYP3. Okay, next is example 4. Okay, so we want to write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line that contains 2, 0 and is perpendicular, so that's important, perpendicular to the line with equation y equals -x plus 5. So I'm just going to highlight that. Okay. If I want it to be perpendicular, I know what the slope should be, right? So here, since y equals -x, here the slope is -1, right? Because it's -1 times x. If I want it to be perpendicular to it, I want the perpendicular slope, right? So -1, you can think of it as -1/1. Okay. So perpendicular should be opposite sign, so it should be positive, and then flipping the 1/1 is still 1. So my new slope is +1. Okay. Here's my x, here's my y. So 0 equals 1 times my x plus b. 1 times 2 is 2 plus b. Subtract 2. -2 is b. So y equals slope 1, x minus 2, which simplifies 1x is just x, because it's 1 times x, minus 2. And so here, I have y equals x minus 2. Right? So why don't you try the next one here, CYP4. Okay, you should have gotten y equals -3/4 x plus 3 3/4, or if you left it as an improper fraction, it would be 15/4. If you got it correct, you can move on to example 5. If not, here's your explanation. Okay? So write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line containing -3, 6 that is parallel to the graph of y equals -3/4 x plus 3. Okay? Because it's parallel, it should be same slope. Okay? And since this slope is -3/4, my slope from my other line should be -3/4 as well to be parallel. Okay? Then I plugged in my x, -3, and my y for 6, and I did my math. -3/4 times -3 is 9/4. Okay. In this case, I thought it would be easier to leave it as improper, so I changed it because I want to subtract it, right? So when we subtract fractions, we need common denominator. And so since this is 6/1, to get it to a denominator of 4, I multiply top and bottom by 4, which gave me 24/4. And then later, when I subtract, all I have to do is 24 minus 9, which is 15, and denominator stays the same. So 15/4 is my b, or if I changed it into an improper fraction, 4 goes into 15 3 times with 3 left over. And there you go. Okay, so the last one here is example 5. Okay. Gracia's current wireless phone plan charges $39.95 per month for unlimited calls and 5 cents per text message. We want to write an equation to represent the total monthly cost C for T text messages. Okay, so C is the cost. Okay. So what is she having to pay for? Well, she has to pay for 5 cents for each text message. So that means if it was 1 text message, she would pay 5 cents. If it was 2 text messages, she would pay 10 cents. If it's 3, she'd pay 15 cents, etc. So how I got that is I took 5 cents multiplied by however many text messages there are. So that would be 0.05 T. Right? The other thing she's paying for is that unlimited calls part. So on top of that, she has to pay $39.95. But because that's a flat fee, I don't have to multiply it by anything else. And so that is my equation. Okay. The next part here asks her to compare her current plan, which is what we have here, presented at the beginning of the lesson. Okay. And we want to compare it to an alternate plan for if she reads or sends an average. Where there's an alternate plan. I don't see the information about an alternate plan. Hold on. Okay, the alternate plan was all the way in the beginning of the book when I had the get ready for the lesson here, where its total cost is 10 cents per text plus 35. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to compare her current plan with the alternate plan. Okay, but this time we know that she's going to send 150 text messages, so T equals 150. Okay, so her current plan, which we just have up here, okay, The cost is 0.05T. We know she's sending 150 text messages, so that's 150 plus 39.95. Okay. So then let's do the math. Okay, 5 cents times 150, that gives me $7.50, so 7.50 plus 39.95. Okay, that gives me 47.45. So her current plan, if she does 150 text messages, it'll cost her $47.45. The alternate plan at the beginning of the book was C equals 0.1T, or it's 10 cents per text, but the unlimited calls and stuff is cheaper at 35. Right? So let's see what it would be if we had 150 texts. Right? So this would be $15 plus 35. 15 plus 35 is 50. So on the alternate plan, she would pay $50. So which plan offers the better rate? The current plan offers the better rate. And there you go. Okay, so here you're going to do CYP 5. Okay, you should have gotten that the alternate plan is cheaper, and the reason why is because it's actually 2.45 cents cheaper than the current plan. Okay, if you got that right, you can move on to the next one. If you can move on to your homework. If not, here's your explanation. Okay, so again, remember your current plan is 5 cents per text messages plus 39.95 for calls. So if she's receiving 50 text messages, that's T equals 50. 0.05 times 50 is 250, plus the 39.95 is 42.45 for the current plan. The alternate plan is 10 cents per text, so 0.10 times 50, plus 35 for calls. Right? 10 cents or 0.10 times 50 is 5, 5 plus 35 is 40. And so if you compare the prices, the alternate plan is cheaper by $2.45. That's it for today. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.